leave. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Passed. Oh, you know what? How do we download recording view on Facebook Enter Studio? Am I allowed to even? This is so crazy. This is not my morning. It's all right. Maybe everybody will join in. Let me see. More settings, broadcasting for private channel layout settings. Good morning. I hope everyone comes in over on this one because clearly I am just not a fan of myself this morning. That is so hilarious. Through it all. I gotta sing it again because clearly, oh, through it all, I'm learning to trust in Jesus. Still learning to trust in God. Through it all, through it all, I'm learning to depend upon His word. Oh, through it all, oh, through it all, I'm learning to trust in Jesus, still learning to trust in God. Through it all, oh, through it all, I'm learning to depend upon His word. Through it all, go through it all. I'm learning to trust in Jesus. Still learning to trust in God. Through it all. Through it all. I'm learning to depend upon His word. Oh, through it all. Oh, through it all. I'm learning to trust in Jesus. I'm learning to trust in God. Through it all. Oh, through it all. I'm learning to depend upon His word. Good morning again, beautiful people. I accidentally ended the other one by going in. It's been a morning for me. It's been a morning, and it's crazy because it's been a good morning, but the Wi-Fi like this morning threw me off, and I'm just like I was frustrated. I was so frustrated. Good morning, sis. Greetings, everyone. And the Wi-Fi threw me off because it wasn't working, so I went down. So I stormed downstairs and I unplugged and I plugged it back in, and I came back upstairs, and everybody was like, "What in the world's going on?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's not working this morning." And so and then I get up here and I'm in a good mood and I'm singing, and then I accidentally end my last broadcast. You just gotta love me, right? But this week has been a very interesting week, and I'm just grateful to be alive today. It's so much that's happening in the world. It's so much that's happening, each and every day of our lives, in our personal lives, as well as the world at large. And it's just a beautiful thing just to have someone to depend on, which is God Almighty for me. And I have been thinking a lot, you know, just about different stuff, but something that just kept coming to my mind because I've had these conversations this week, not just with one person in particular, but other people I've had conversations with about one thing in particular. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on my broadcast before, but just the simple fact of just trying to remain positive in the negative situations, which I just had a couple negative situations this morning. Um, Good morning. How are you? Oh my gosh, it's been so long. You're welcome. I try to do my best. um, but it's just been, so much stuff that we go through, and it's not always easy to have a positive mindset through the things that we deal with on an everyday basis. Myself included, it doesn't matter how much someone says, they believe in being positive, and it doesn't matter how many people walk around with a smile on their face. It does not mean that internally they are smiling. But it's a choice to choose to try to be happy versus to hang on to those things that can really truly keep you down and things like that. And I'm the type of person that tries to think about the cup is half full, but there are times when I don't even see those type of things through what I'm going through, because what I'm going through just feels that heavy. So I'm just grateful today just for trying to remain positive and trying to stay faithful to the things that I believe in. Hi Tony, love you too. And just trying to stay faithful to being positive minded and not allowing those things to, bother me and keep me down. And it's not always easy. And I never want to come across as someone that make it seem so easy. But I do try my best to make it possible, because it is possible. Um, Sometimes you just got to get out of your own way. And I'm one of the ones that stand flat footed in my own way. But one thing I wanted to talk about, and because it kept coming up in conversations this week, and I don't know, like I said earlier, if this was something that I have spoken about, but I don't think I've dedicated an entire show about growth. Growth is two things. Growth is uncomfortable and growth is necessary. There's no reason to think that you are growing when you're always constantly feeling comfortable. If you're always comfortable, if you're always, doing the same activities and not doing anything different than what you have been doing before, and if you're always constantly thinking the same, if you look back over your life and you think about the way you think, if you never change the way you think for the better in the areas where you haven't always thought the same, if you're still responding to the same things over and over with the same energy, then yes, you do have to check your growth level. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to experience growth in every area of your life at the time that you always think you will. But somebody asked me yesterday, I was on the phone with one of my friends, and he was like, how have you been doing? And I was like, honestly, I just been growing. Like, I've been growing, I've been learning, I've been trying to do things differently. I've been trying to, be a more mature woman, for myself, for my own personal self, not for anyone else, but just for me. And, one thing that really allows me to see how important growth is just being around, people that you see changing as well. Like, when you see people changing around you, like, man, like, let me make sure I'm doing the same thing. Let me make sure my talk is different. Let me make sure my thought process is different. Like, if you're around people all the time that just seem the same and they never change, and you find yourself growing, you're going to be annoyed by that person and you're going to want to do away with them, because you don't want to be around anybody that's stuck in the same mentality. One thing that I've seen and one thing that I've learned is that I've heard many old heads talk about that. They talk about how, the men still doing the same thing they used to be. Their friends that they were friends with back in the day are still doing the same thing, still having the same behaviors that they had back in the day, still, not to judge, but still sitting on the same street corner doing the same thing they've been doing for 45 years, nothing. Still passing around that same liquor bottle, still whistling at, doing all these different things, just like the same women. They still going to the same clubs, and they 45 and they've been clubbing since they was 20, and they ain't changed nothing. Now they going to the club with they children. Now they still doing the exact same behavior, the exact same thing. They haven't grown mentally and emotionally, but they've grown physically, or they've lost weight or whatever, but mentally and emotionally they're still, you know, a child, so to speak. And when you hear stuff like that, you like, man, like I don't want to be that person when I'm in my 40s and 50s and 60s and still doing the exact same thing that I was doing years ago, that no longer suits me or no longer works for me anymore. And you wonder why sometimes it is hard for you to be around certain people. It doesn't matter that person is. It could be family. It doesn't matter who it is. And just having these conversations and just having growth conversations with people, just having growth conversations with your siblings or parents or friends or whomever, and you're having growth conversations, you're going to be able to look back on those conversations and be like, man, remember when I was having a hard time with this, and now I'm no longer dealing with that anymore. Look how far I've come. Like, and that's what's important. Growth is definitely uncomfortable. It's definitely uncomfortable because it challenges you to rise above what you've always been thinking, what you've always been feeling, what you've always been having within your heart and within your mind, the actions you've always completed. Growth means stepping outside of what you used to think was the norm and doing better than that. Because one of the things about me when I was a kid, and sometimes I still find myself struggling with this, I used to have a temper. And a lot of the people nowadays be like, Bev, you to fly off the handle roof all the time. Somebody said one thing to me. My tolerance for people saying certain stuff to me was this big, like this big. And I mean, immediately, what you say? Blah, blah, blah. I know you're talking to me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just going off. And as I became older and tried to live my life differently, I see where the tolerance of going off on people has become a lot more. And there are times, depending upon the subject, that, I still go off about something. It may not be on a person, but it may be about a subject versus a person. Because I had a low tolerance for foolishness, and I still do, but I show a lot more mercy than I used to people. I show a lot more kindness and a lot more patience with God's help because it's not nothing I'm doing on my own. I cannot take credit for that. But that was something that I would always do. Like somebody would say something, and I really would just take offense to it if I felt like it was disrespectful. Instead of sitting back thinking about what they meant by it or asking them, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? And giving them a chance to explain because the way I heard it might not have been the way they meant to send the message, and sometimes we receive things in a way where we are looking at it through our reception of it, our perception of it, should I say, the way we saw it, the way I heard it, the way I felt it. But we don't even think that maybe that person didn't mean it the way that it came across. So we need to ask questions because I wouldn't. I'd be like, listen, I know you ain't talking to me like that, blah, blah, this, that, and the third. Well, I didn't mean it like that, but you said it though. Like, it would be that moment when I would just go off and wouldn't even care. And I'm talking about middle school, high school. I was just that type of firecracker. Um, but I come to realize, moreover, as I get older, that everything doesn't deserve a response. And sometimes things have to be followed up with a question because you do have to give people the opportunity to explain what they meant about things. I had a coworker when I was, how old was I? Like 23. I never forget. He said something to me and I went there. I was gone. But these words that he said to me made me snap back and into reality and say, you know what, you gotta do better. He said, why are you always so defensive? And I was like, and it hit me to the point where I didn't even have a response to that. I was just like, I don't know. Before I knew it, I was like, I don't know. Feel like I've always had to defend myself. Feel like nobody else would, so I got to do it. And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, that really just stopped you in your tracks to make you really think about how you need to do better and how you need to respond to people in a way where, you're not going off the handle on people like that. And I still struggle with that some days. I'm not perfect at it, but I've come a long, long way. And I'm more so tenderhearted. Like I'm probably more easy to show my tenderhearted side than I am to show my whatever. You ain't gonna talk to me like that. Don't worry, we're gonna handle this. Like I don't really show that side as much. If anything, I'm thinking about what was said to me and how I can respond most of the time. Um, thank God for that. But that just showed me that I've grown in that area a lot. Now, if I was still going off on people and I'm in my 30s, and I used to do that when I was in my early 20s and teenager and, all that mess, I really need to check myself. And it's just a simple matter and a simple fact that, a lot of people just think that getting older always mean that you're going to grow, that you're going to be wiser. That's why sometimes you can't even go to the older people about stuff because you can see in their behavior and in their mentality that they're not even mature enough to even handle what it is you're dealing with and what you're going through. And in fact, they'll tell you, oh, it ain't that deep, it ain't that serious. But it is this serious, it is this deep, simply because it's something that I'm working on. It's something that I'm working towards. And I want to get out of this thing. And you're keep pointing me back to what it is I'm trying to come out of. And if you keep doing that, I'm going to have to dismiss myself from it because I want to be better. I want to do better. Just because someone has done something for years, don't make it right. Just because you've thought a certain way for years, don't make it right. Have you ever considered the fact that what you have been doing is immature and is wrong and it shouldn't be repeated? And I think a lot of times we have to sit in examination of ourselves and see where it is that we're at and see what we need to do to get better mentally and emotionally. Some people are in prison in their own mindset. They're in prison in their emotions. They're locked up and don't even know or don't even have the clue of where to begin to unlock themselves because a lot of times they don't care. You know why? Because it takes a lot of work to change. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to change. And sometimes changing for the better and growing gets hard. It gets unbearable sometimes because you feel like you're not making progress. But if you're patient with yourself and you trust yourself to be consistent in what you're trying to do, you'll see that growth. You'll see that progression. You'll see those results that you didn't expect to see. They're not going to come when you want them to come. Let's say you've been battling with, like me, I had a terrible sweet tooth, just to keep it light. I had a terrible sweet tooth and I would eat, I'm talking about cake, cookies, candies, every time I turn around. And here it is, my teeth are screaming, Bev, I can't take this. Like, you are doing this to me and I can't take it anymore. Why are you doing this to me? And I'm still like trying to eat candy, like teeth hurting, everything. Had to go to the dentist. They looked at my teeth, had cavities, everything terrible, right? So I began to realize that I was fed up with myself. And I said, Bev, you got to do better. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. So I challenged myself to no longer eat sweets. I challenged myself to say no to everything that was sweet that I wanted. And and um and I'm just like, yes, my teeth were screaming. And I challenged myself to stop eating those things that weren't good for me. And it was hard, y'all, because it's like the more I tried, the more the office will bring in cupcakes and cookies and treats and chocolate and everything. And I just be like, Bev, you want some? No, I'm good. I do, but I don't need it. And they were like, what? You don't want anything? I'm like, please stop. I'm trying to do better. Just don't even pay me no mind. Just keep going. Just keep going. And eventually I found myself not desiring those things anymore. I don't even like cake. I don't like cake. That might sound crazy, but I don't like cake. Um, and so I began to turn down those things and I became better at it. And now I eat it when I want to eat it, but not because I see it, if that makes sense, which makes it better for me. Like, so I eat candy. I'm like, man, I want something sweet. So I'll eat it in that aspect, maybe. But I try to overindulge and I try to know my limits and my boundaries. But I said that because When people realize how much work it's going to take to change our behaviors, when we realize how much it's going to take to grow out of something that we've been doing, we have to understand that that's a worthy fight. That's a worthy moment in our minds and in our hearts to be able to say, okay, you know what, I got to fight through this. You know what, I got to do better. I got to rise above the way that I feel, because right now I don't feel like fighting this hard to change this bad habit that I have or to grow out of this mentality. But I also have to understand that the end result is going to be a whole lot better than me staying in this area. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel weird trying to come out of our everyday usual. But if you want to be better, you're going to have to go through some growing pains. I mean, think about our bodies from a baby up until now. We didn't have no other choice but to grow, unless the good Lord said you're going to be this height. But when he was done with us growing, like my height, I'm not going to say it out loud, but my height, once I got to that height that I was going to be, that was it. But that's what I was meant to be. But I had to grow in between that time. And it might have made my bones feel weird, like just things might have felt painful at some time, like I was uncomfortable because my feet grew before my body did. So I was like short with big feet at one point. So I was uncomfortable because people would notice my feet size, my foot size. They'd be like, "You got some big feet." And then I'd be like, "Leave me alone." Because in my mind, I'm like, I know I do, but I'm uncomfortable right now because I'm growing and I don't like the fact that I have to grow like this, but it's necessary for my height. Now my feet look little, but I still remember my feet looking big. So sometimes I'll be like, that's kind of crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, this is crazy because, you know, I didn't have to tell my body when to stop. It just automatically stopped at the appointed time. But in our lives, that's the same thing. You don't tell yourself when you need to stop growing in this area. You just have to constantly work on it. And then when you see the end results, or when you see the results are coming in, you're not going to want to stop growing in that area. You're going to really start shunning everything and everyone that's bringing back those things that you don't want them to bring back. So you got to learn how to cut off people that are still dealing with those same things that you're trying to get away from. Like if I'm not trying to do certain things anymore, if I'm trying to go to bed at, I'm just hypothetically speaking, if I'm trying to go to bed at no later than 10:30, why am I hanging out with people that want to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning? Why am I doing that? I'm allowing them to keep me in that same spot that I want to get away from. But if I know somebody else that's like, yeah, let's try to go to bed by 10:30, let's try to do this, then why not work together to accomplish that? All right, let's do it. All right, it's about to be 10:30. All right, let's go to bed. Like you want to be surrounding yourself around those people that are growing in the same direction, that are growing in the same direction. And it may not even be that they're dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with, but they still have the mindset to grow. If I know I don't want to gossip, if I know I don't want to talk junk about people, why am I going to hang around people that do the same thing? Why am I going to converse with people that do the same thing? Oh no, I got to get away from those people because that their behavior will become my behavior. And instead of me trying to get away from that, I'm going to be drawn to it and it's going to increase instead of decrease. But the more you detach yourself from something, the more that you space yourself from something, the more that you try your hardest to overcome something, no matter how hard it may be at times, no matter how many times you fall and fail at trying to overcome it, you can't give up. You can't quit about the thing. You can't quit about it. You can't quit and say, you know what, I'm just not even going to worry about it anymore, because you're not going to be satisfied because you've already started something and now you got to finish it. So growth is so necessary. It's necessary. And I find that it's a beautiful thing to see people growing. It's a beautiful thing to see people trying to stay in a certain headspace, trying to stay in a certain heart space, trying to overcome things that they have been dealing with for years. It's a beautiful thing. And if you know someone that's trying to do that, every now and then encourage them. Every now and then let them know to keep going. Every now and then let them know, like, listen, you're going to get through this. Like, don't even worry about. Exactly, Sister Shalom. Never give up. Like giving up should not be the option. Like, just remind that person to keep going. Like, even when they feel like they haven't made any headway, remind them, listen, you have come farther than what you think you have. It's just that in this moment, you're reminded that there's still more work to do. And that's all it is. you're going to be reminded to not get comfortable with a little bit of growth. Don't get comfortable in when you see the growth. Oh man, I'm doing good. Okay, well, there's still more to do. Don't get comfortable, because then you'll start relaxing yourself and you could go backwards into those same things. So you really have to be careful with what all you're doing. Y'all see my cup? Be positive. I bought this from Five and Below. Sorry, I got to drink a little bit because I'm getting a little. I got cranberry grape juice in there. Oh, it's my favorite. But you can't get comfortable in the growth that you see in yourself. You always have to keep pushing forward, because there's going to be something else to grow from. The older I become, even within my few young years that I've been here on earth, the more I see that the fight sometimes gets harder. Feature the cup. Yeah. Be positive. And it's just like, I'm just like, man, like every year there's something else, or there are more than one thing that you have to constantly battle through and fight through and grow through. And just remember that you can do that. You can grow through the things that you thought that you couldn't. The one thing that I always keep in mind is that think about all the people that walk around and don't realize they need to grow. Think about all the people that walk around and they're comfortable with where they are. Good morning, beautiful people. I see we got 10 people on. I just want to say hey and hi, and I love you guys. Thank you for your support, even if you're just stepping in for a second. We're talking about growth. And just the people that walk around every single day that are doing the same behaviors, they're set in their ways. They don't see the need to grow. They don't see the need to change for the better. Think about all those people when you're trying to grow, and understand and pat yourself on the back for not being one of those people, because you are, my friend, you are one of those people that are trying to do better with your life, that want to get older and mature and more, you want to have more wisdom. So think about that when you're down on yourself for not feeling like you're where you should be. Well, guess what? You're not where you want to be, but you are definitely where you should be. And not a second sooner, not a second delayed. Your growth happens at the time that it's supposed to happen, as long as you are working on it. If you're not working on it, then it ain't gonna never happen. But if you're working on it, you acknowledge that you need to grow in something, you're taking the daily steps, even if it's just one step per day. Like you have a thought that normally puts you in a bad mood, and you normally allow that thought to dwell in your mind for maybe 15 minutes. Well, let's say this time, instead of 15 minutes, you allow it to dwell in your thoughts 13 minutes this time instead of 15. That's one step in the right direction. And then the next day you try it again. And then that time decreases a little bit. So as long as you're doing something every single day, and even some days you may not even feel like it, but the bottom line is just keeping that consistency and that focus to do those things that are really beneficial to you every single day, to your growth, you'll find yourself going forward. You'll find yourself picking up the pace, not to run faster, but picking up the pace to be more consistent and to be more diligent and to be more solid in what you're doing for yourself. Let me see. Esther says, amen. I'm thanking God for this growth journey right now. We praise him for the glow up and glowing up. Yes, absolutely. And I do, I'm the type of person where if I see that someone is growing or glowing, I love to just tell people, like, keep up the good work, because I think it's important, because sometimes we don't think we are doing a good job. Sometimes we don't think we are hanging in there like we think we are, but we are doing something. And that to me says a lot versus the people that are doing nothing. So having a mindset to grow, having the mindset to want to do better, it's been a part of me for quite some time to want to be a better person. And some people may say, well, I know I want to be a better person, but I don't know where to start. Pick something small. You want to stop biting your nails. That may be something small, but that's a place to start. It's something in your life that you can start with that won't be so overwhelming to the point where you want to, like, oh gosh, it's just too much. You can't think about everything you need to change all at once because that'll be overwhelming. So find one thing for you to work on and then work on that thing. And then when you start seeing progress and you feel like you have enough strength where you can maintain that progress, and then you may find something else that you may want to work on at the same time that may be encouraging that thing that you've already been working on. So, okay, well, let me work on this. Let me work on that. The first thing you need to change about yourself is your mindset. Because if your mind doesn't change, you'll never change. Change the mind, change the person. So if you don't change your mind, like the way you think about things, the way you're thinking, if you're already saying, I don't know where to start and this is too hard, or if you're already talking negative and thinking negative thoughts, you're not going to go anywhere. But if you have that mindset, well, I want to do better and I can do better. Let me figure out where to start. Get your mind in a positive state. Get your mind in, and then your heart will follow, and then before you know it, your actions will follow. And before you know it, you'll see that growth. You'll see that change for yourself. And thank God for the change that you do see, even if it's just a smidge. Because as I look back over some of the things that I have been working on, I have to acknowledge the fact that I see change in myself. I see growth in myself. It's uncomfortable. It's necessary, though. It's necessary to be uncomfortable because I'm coming out of something that I'm used to doing. So it's like, man, like this is necessary for me. And this is beautiful for me to be able to see myself growing in this aspect, even if it's just this amount or this amount or this amount. The bottom line is I'm growing. The bottom line is I'm doing better by God's permission. The bottom line is I'm happy that God is allowing me to be able to see myself. Because like I said before, people don't see themselves. There are people that are stuck in their ways and they don't want to move. And if they see themselves, they too busy thinking about what it is that they've been doing for so long. They feel like it's crazy to try to change it now. No, it's not crazy. It's not crazy to change the way you think if the way you have been thinking has been paralyzing you and crippling you and keeping you from going forward. It's not crazy. I don't care if you're 79. You can change the way you think. It's just up to the individual. And you can't make people change either. Don't get with nobody, don't hang around nobody thinking you can change anybody's mindset. They have to want it for themselves. They have to see it for themselves. And if they don't want to change, they don't want to do things, then you got to accept the fact that that person does not want to change, even if it bothers you. If they're always disrespectful and you tell them, like, listen, you've been disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, you know what? I don't even think I've been disrespectful. I just been telling you X, Y, Z. It is what it is. Okay. You may be able to show mercy a little bit, but how long are you really going to stay around somebody that disrespects you and don't even want to change from it? You ain't going to stay around them long. If you got good sense, you won't. So what are you going to do? You're going to find yourself distancing yourself because you don't want to be around anyone that doesn't treat you well. So it's like that. You can't change them. If they don't see the wrong in what they're doing, then they're not going to change. They're not going to do better in that aspect. She said, we need an amen button because I need to click on it about 10 times already. Esther, you're so sweet. But I just, I don't know, that amen just makes me feel like I'm preaching. I'm not trying to preach. So maybe a love button instead. But I just know that growth will put you in a certain mind frame. And when you begin to see growth, you'll see yourself outgrowing people. You'll see yourself outgrowing mindsets. And guess what? The people with those exact same mindsets, you will outgrow them. So let me say that again. You will see yourself outgrowing a mindset. And the people with that mindset, you will outgrow them because you no longer think that way, but they still do. So you'll find yourself moving on. And when people say no new friends, my thing of the matter is, what do you mean by that? And if you're saying no new friends, make sure that those friends that you're still holding on to are the people that you don't need to outgrow. Because sometimes you can say no new friends, but you actually need new friends because those people really truly aren't your friends. Because if you're trying to do better and they're not, why would you hang on to that? But if you have friends that truly encourage growth, You have growth conversations, not people conversations, growth conversations. You have career goal conversations. You have aspiration conversations. You have, what I want to do when I get older. You have, I want to do this. I want to be this. I want to be able to live my life like this conversations. I want to be able to give this back to the community. I want to be able to give that back. Then those are the type of friends you want to say no new friends about. But if you have these friends that every time you try to do better, they pull you back into their web of foolishness because they don't want to see you leave them, then make the type of friends you want to say no old friends. You need some new friends. People say they cut off people every single year. Well, that's a good thing if you're cutting off people with the mindset you no longer want to have. That's a good thing. By all means, I commend you for that, because not everybody could walk away from people because they feel like history trumps growth. It doesn't. And I don't care how many years you've been friends with somebody. If they're not good for your growth, if they're not good for you as a person, then why are you wasting time simply because y'all was in diapers together? Who cares? Who cares? Y'all was in diapers together. Y'all went to middle school together. You went to high school, went to the same college, had a double wedding, whatever the case may be. Who cares? You can still outgrow people. Don't feel bad for outgrowing people. Don't feel bad for outgrowing family. Don't feel bad for outgrowing so-called friends. Don't feel bad for outgrowing anyone in your life, outgrowing a job, outgrowing a career. Don't feel bad. It simply means you are evolving as a person, and that's a wonderful thing. That's not something you should be mad about or sad about. You should rejoice in that. You should really applaud yourself for doing something that is good and beneficial for you as a human being. And I'm not saying that you can be in a career for 40 years and and feel bad, and not grow, because you can be on that job. You could have started out in one position, but as time went on, you went to the lead person in your department, and then after that, you went to the manager. Then after that, you went to the supervisor, and after that, you own the company. Like I don't want to say it in that aspect that that's a bad thing, because you're growing. You're still growing. But at the end of the day, you can't look around at everybody else and feel bad because you have outgrown all these people. Who cares? You're doing what you should be doing for yourself without worrying about it. Let me see. She says, hold on. Esther says, we have to say amen to the truth. You are speaking facts. Churchiness. I love it. Oh, the outgrowing friends part. That is difficult to address, but it happens. Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time. If I'm dealing with people that don't even, my friends, some of my friends, not all of my friends, because I had a lot of churchy friends growing up, to a certain degree. But if I'm serving God, striving to please Him, and I'm around people that don't even go to church, that just do things that, they want to do on Sundays or during the week, and then all of a sudden my life really changes for the better. And I'm like, you know what? This is the path I'm taking. Y'all aren't doing that. And I don't want to sit around and find myself conforming to what y'all are doing. So let me go on with God. No love lost. I love y'all, but I'm outgrowing certain things. And that's one of those things. You're going to find yourself departing. If you're working a job that you no longer want to work, and yet you have friends on that job, you don't outgrow them simply because they're on their job. But if you see that those friends don't want to do better for themselves, you see they want to just stay in that same place, you're going to outgrow them if you want better for your life. Doesn't mean you're better than them. It just means you're choosing a different pathway that's better for you. That's all that means. Sister Francis says, beautiful. Oh, thank you. Pray for me. Don't feel bad for outgrowing people. I needed to hear that. Listen, we all need to hear that, because sometimes we try to hold on to people that have no good in our lives. They have no use in our lives personally, in a personal space. You can still say, hey, how you doing? And I love you. I hope all is well. How your mom and them? But at the end of the day, you want to find yourself growing. You want to find yourself progressing. You want to find yourself getting to a place where you recognize the growth in yourself. You want to be able to recognize the growth in yourself. And yeah, it's good when other people can see it. But sometimes I don't even see that I've done better in an area. But somebody else can be like, girl, you know what? You used to be mad about stuff like that, but you ain't now. I'm like, honey, I'm still mad. I'm just not showing it the way I used to. So it's like, Sister Jalonte, yes, amen. Oh my goodness. Y'all killing me with this amen business now. But I'm just like, I'm like, okay, well, I definitely want to see how far I've come. I want to measure my growth. Because sometimes people don't see growth in you, but they only choosing not to see it because they don't want to see it. So let's say I said I don't want to do a certain thing anymore. And I told people that the people that are still doing it, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm trying to do better. In their minds, oh, what you think you better than us? It's not that I think I'm better than y'all. I'm just trying to do better for myself. And that's not something that I want to do. And then one day you slip up and you find yourself indulging in the same thing you wanted to get rid of. Well, those same people that look at you like, I knew you hadn't changed, girl. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Don't even worry about it. We still love you. Ain't no judgment. Just come on back. And you look at them and you say, oh no, I messed up. I made a mistake. I had a relapse moment, but it does not mean that I'm going to want to stay here. So people don't want to see the growth in you because they want you to stay with them because they aren't growing. She said, this is so, oh, thank you. This is so beautiful. And is there any way that it can be shared later? Yes, ma'am. On my Facebook. As soon as I'm done with the live, you can share it. Or you should be able to share it now, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. But I do know after I'm done, then you can be able to share it. But that's what it is sometimes. People don't want to see you outgrow them because they're negative and they're toxic. So they want you to stay where they're at. They don't want you to do better because then it's going to make them feel like they need to do better, but they don't want to do better. So they don't want you to do better. So they'll say certain things to reel you back into those same behaviors so that they don't feel left out. It's kind of crazy. They don't want to feel like they're losing you because evidently they see that you benefit them, but you see that they don't benefit you. So there's a tug of war there. They're trying to keep you, you're trying to leave them. They don't want you to. They don't want you to because they see the impact on their lives that you're having on their lives. But you see that there is no impact on your life from them. So you're trying to get away. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to be better. You've outgrown them. Don't feel bad about that. Tell them, I love you, but I got to go. Exactly. Stay away from the crabs in a bucket or a barrel or whatever. The bucket, the pot, the pan, whatever. But the bucket. Stay away because that's what crabs do. When they see another crab getting up, what they'll do, they'll snatch that one down. They'll try to, it's just simple like that. That's really how people mentality is. That's really how it is. Let me see that. We not judging you. Come on back. No, thank you, sweetheart. So sad. People are waiting to see you go back so they can justify their wrong. Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like they we knew you hadn't changed, or that's all right. We'll pull you back down. Crabs in the barrel. That whole mentality is so sickening to me. It's sickening. People are waiting for your downfall so that they can feel better about their sorry lives. Exactly. They will always pull you down because you are tired of being in an enclosed bucket. Exactly. Your mind is broader than that. You see more than that. You feel more than that. You hear more than that. And on top of that, you want to explore more than that. And they don't want that for you. They don't want that for you because they enjoyed talking about the old you. They enjoyed the old you. They don't want to see that new you because to them, the new you is not fun. The new you is not what they're used to. So they feel like, nah, we don't like this new person. We love the old you. So they want that old you to come back. No, thank you. I'm good. Sometimes cutting people off is growth. Exactly. It took weeks to feel better about cutting some people off, even when I knew it was the right thing. Yeah, because you still have a heart. You don't want to break people's heart, but you realize that in order for you to grow, you got to break people's heart. And you can't feel bad about that. But if you do, it just means that you cared about them. That's how you got to look at it. Well, at least I know I really cared about them because I've done that. I have a hard time cutting people off because I care about people, and a lot more than I should. Because even though people can cut people off and walk away, don't mean that they didn't care about them, but they care more about themselves to the point where they're like, I'm not even gonna worry about them. And people can do a clean cut. Like there's a difference between a butcher knife and a butter knife. A butcher knife, you're gonna get a real clean cut. You chop that meat, it's gone. Some people can do a butcher knife cut. Me, I do the butter knife, where I'm trying to cut you off, and I'm trying to cut you off. I'm like, I know I need to. I'm trying my best, but at the end of the day, I'm like, oh gosh, when I finally cut you off, it's all rigged edges because I didn't try to keep you in somewhere because I love you just that much, and I realized, Belle, just get the butcher knife. Just stop the foolishness. But it takes a long time for me to get there. It really does. Let me see. She said, "Yes, I experienced that, Ellen. I decided I was not going. I was not going to fall for that sweet talk. I'm done. Exactly. And they will sweet talk you. They will. They will. They enjoy drinking liquor out of a brown paper bag on the corner. Shoot, they don't even change the brand of liquor. Some same liquor, just a fresh bag. Exactly. Exactly. That is true. And they pass it around to the same folks. And then as soon as you get out of that circle, they want you to come back in it because they enjoyed it. They enjoyed you being down there with them. Misery loves company. I'm over here doing the paring knife cut. Okay, now you got to explain what that is because I don't really know what that means. The paring knife cut. What does that mean? And let me see. Sister Shalom said, I did the butcher knife cut. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? It takes a very brave and courageous person. I'm not that courageous in that area. I'll tell somebody off, but I won't cut them off. I'm quick to like, what? Blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about that. I was that type of person. And I still can set the record straight when I'm pushed to that point, then that's when I have to be like, look, but it takes me a while. I'm definitely a butter knife cutter. I'm definitely all right, let me see if you change. I'm gonna cut you a little bit. Let me see if you change. You ain't gonna change. Gotta dig a little deeper in this cut. Dang, I really don't want to, but man. And before you know it, I gotta they ain't changing. They really gonna be themselves. All right, man. I gave you enough time. Bow. So that's just my way of doing things. But yes, you have to learn to entertain those people from a distance. Hey, how you doing? You doing all right? How your mom and them? Good, good, good. Leave it alone. But those people that are beneficial to your life, and you can tell the ones that really truly love you because they're going to want to see you do better. And even in those crowds that you have left, how do you stay emotionally detached from them once you cut them off? I see a question here. Even after you've left, those people and stuff like that, you still be cordial and respectful. But you've noticed that even those people in that group of circle, there's always going to be someone that'll tell you, I knew that you weren't going to be around this atmosphere for long. I'm proud of you. Keep going. Us, we satisfied where we at. But you, I could tell you wanted more. So I'm proud of you. Keep going. Maybe that one person, maybe the only time they tell you that, but it'll mean a lot. Let me see. How do you stay emotionally detached from them once you cut them off? Emotionally detached means that you take back your power from them. Being emotionally attached to someone means that you care about their feelings, you care about them, they mean a lot to you, something happens to them, you have to learn where to place the emotional attachment, because you want to be able to care if something bad happens, but you don't want to care about them disrespecting you or making you feel some type of way anymore. So you have to change the way you care, if that makes sense. So the truth of the matter is, I can speak and say, I can't stand that person, don't want nothing to do with them in that way, in a specific way. But God forbid something happen. You always want to be available, emotionally available, that if something bad happens to someone that has done you wrong, you still care in that aspect. There was someone that got into a terrible accident that had really been driving me up a wall. And I made it. Didn't want no dealings with that person. I even said that I couldn't stand them, but I had to get myself back to a certain place. So I began to talk to God about it and ask God to help me to refrain from thinking this way about this person. And what ended up happening was they got into a terrible life or death situation. And I found myself just praying for this person, asking God to heal them and deliver them and just set them free from everything that was keeping them bound. So I cared about them in that aspect of life and death. But as far as their treatment towards me, as far as giving them power to the point where they alter my feelings when I see them, I had to get away from that. So my thing of the matter is, I mean, being that we trust in God and we strive to, live for Him, it took a lot of prayer for me to get to that point. It took a lot of me really truly having to be honest about how I felt about that person and say, you know what, I'm really hurt by what they did. I can't stand them. I don't want to be around them. And this is me in dialogue with God. This is how I really feel about this, God. So I need you to help me. And I need you to place love in my heart for where I don't want to deal with them. Like, I need you to place love in my heart for where I know that I feel this type of way. I can't stand to be around them. They've done this, they've done that. I'm hurting about it. I'm crying about it. Whatever the case was, you had to ask, like, I really had to ask God to step in and to change those feelings for me because I couldn't do it on my own. It's not something that I could do by myself. And most of the time it's just the acknowledgement of how we really, really feel and how this thing has really taken a toll on us and how we really got to escape it by just being consistent with making an effort to change our thought process when we see them. Instead of, you know what, I can't stand that person. You know what? We got to find the good. You got to find the good in that person and then you got to leave it alone. I really can't describe it much more than just going to God about it because that's the only one that changed my perspective. That's the only one that really truly helped me get through all of that stuff. And it's to realize that no one deserves that type of power over you to the point where that emotional detachment is so strong to the point where when you see them, you can't stand their guts and they just alter your face and they alter your behavior and you just like, this fool. Like, it just becomes you realizing, man, I'm giving this person power over me. I got to take that power back. And how I began to do that was speak to them. How you doing? You doing all right? Good. How I began to do that was just trying to change my inner feelings and inner thoughts by constantly in prayer. There's some things I just had to pray about for a long time. And I don't even know any other way, any other advice to give you because it's really a thing of just trying to take that power back. Because if somebody is affecting you emotionally and it's altering the way you see them or the way you view them or the way you greet them or the way you speak to them, then that person has power over you. And you got to pray that to get that power back because no one deserves power over you at all in any circumstances, not even this much. So it's just a matter of fighting through it, having the conversation if you need to. If you need to have a conversation, sometimes that can help with them. You don't always need to because sometimes people love feeling like you just broken up over them, which is ridiculous. They love feeling like, yeah, I got them right where I want them. Yeah, they can't even think straight when they see me. I love this. Some people bask in foolishness like that. And when you see a person's behavior like that, then that really should be, you know what? All right, I got to get rid of this because I ain't about to have this person feeling like they got me in a place that they don't. So you get a grip. Like you be like, all right, I got to work on this. I got to really, really control my emotions, master my emotions by not allowing them to alter my emotions in no form or fashion. And that consistency, that work, that mentality, that thought process every day. I can't let this overcome me. I have to overcome it. I have to think better. I have to think better thoughts. I have to have better feelings. And when you begin to think positive and begin to work on it every single day, every time you see them, I'm not going to be this way today. I'm going to be better. I'm going to do better. I'm going to not allow them to have control over me. How you doing? You doing all right? You don't have to smile and be all grinning in their face and stuff to prove a point. You just got to be able to, within yourself, prove to yourself that you're doing better. Prove to yourself you're not going to allow them to get to you anymore and begin to shut those emotions down. Begin to, overcome those things. But it's a fight every single day. And you got to be willing to put the work in, no matter how much it hurts. It's the smallest knife, I believe. A paring knife is normally used for fruits and it's small but effective for the small things. I'm trying to use a paring knife for big things. Well, you need to use a butcher knife from now on. You need to use a butcher knife. But I'm just really grateful for today. And I hope that I've said something to help those that have chimed in. I really appreciate you all for hanging in there with me. I don't have all the answers. I'm not a perfect person. I struggle with certain things. I struggle with growth. I struggle with those things that I need to be better in. So I'm not the type of person that's trying to put off that like I'm some perfect angel that has everything right in her life. I have battles myself, but I'm only here on this show to bring light to those things so that we can all work together to be better individuals. You know, if I say something that works for you, wonderful. But I may say things that don't work for you, and you may have to find another confidant or someone that can actually give you directly what you're looking for. So my desire is always that I help at least one person. And if I help one person, then I've done what I should do for the Flower Bev show and with the butterfly mentality. So I hope that I've said something today that has either cheered you up or steered you in the right direction, even if it's just a thought that's been planted or a seed that's been planted that you can have someone else water and that somebody else can nurture to grow. So I love y'all so much. I have to go. I'm actually past my time, but I've been enjoying this. And I actually didn't want to cancel. I wanted to cancel, but I didn't want to because I knew how much I would miss doing this today because growth was on my mind because it's been in a few conversations that I've had this week. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, yay, Esther, I'm happy. Now get that butcher knife, girl. Put that paring knife or paring knife, whatever, however you pronounce it. Put it away. I need to put away my butter knife with certain things. But I really needed this walking into adulthood with a better mentality. That's exactly what it is. We're here to grow, and it's good to see us younger people working on things that maybe we didn't know earlier. Because I feel like if we work on things at a younger age, like we are now, when we get older, we won't have these same issues. But we got to start while we're young because it's easier to start while we're young than to get older and then we have to go back to the drawing board for things. It's more work. You have to undo so much more things. So working on ourselves while we're younger makes us better individuals as we get older. Then we can really truly be a good big mama if we're a grandmother, or big papa if we're a grandfather, or if we're just older people in general. We can be better, and we can, and the advice we give the younger people that comes after us will be better and beneficial than what we've received if we haven't received good advice. So I love y'all. Have a wonderful day, and have a wonderful weekend. And of course, I got to end with my song of choice that I always do. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you till we meet again. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you till we meet again. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Oh, thank you, Sister Francis. That's so true. Hi, Auntie Barbara. It is food for my soul. Shalom. Pray for me, girl. Thank you, Trent. Pray for me. I appreciate you all for logging on. I love y'all. Have a good day. Bye.